Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Xoxo, this is Xoxo Tarot, and in today's reading we're not picking tarot cards. We are actually picking oracles because I felt like it. And what we are going to be doing today is asking the question, should you stay or should you go? Now, you don't have to do it that overtly. If you're trying to choose between two things, this could also be helpful. And what you are considering sticking to or leaving could really be anything. It could be, should you stay at your job or should you go somewhere else? Should you stay where you are? Should you go move somewhere else? Should you stay with the routine that you're doing or should you go with a different one? There are so many different combinations, although if you are watching this reading to ask about a relationship, I'm gonna say right now, I better not get any harassment from scorned lovers because you used me as a scapegoat. That's your decision, that's your choice. And that's also an important reason why I'm not going to be telling you what to do. I might give you what I would choose or my advice because I am allergic to not giving my opinion, but it's going to be up to you. So what we're going to be doing is on the left side of the screen, I'm going to be pulling cards that will show what will happen if you choose to stay with what you're already in. And then we will contrast that with what will happen if you choose to go in a different direction and what that outcome will be. And that is where we will really get the idea of what might happen, and it will kind of be up to you to decide what outcome you are more drawn towards. So after that, we're going to do something fun, and we are going to use this little deck that I have that has a bunch of different answers and use that to give you the opportunity to ask up to 3 different questions you might have. I'll explain it more deeply when we get into the reading. And then we are going to finish off with a postcard from your guides, your angels, whatever loving power you believe in. And even if you don't believe in a loving power, I think you should believe in the idea that there are things out there that love you, whether you believe in them or not, and you're getting a message from them. So that is what we are going to be doing today, and I really hope that this is going to be helpful for all of you. So we have 3 different oracle decks for you to choose from today with 3 different stones on top. So starting with group number 1, we are going to be using the Wisdom of the Oracle, and I have this, I always forget to Google this before I start. It's either Ammonite or Amulet. And it's got this little aura sheen on it on top. I'll obviously look, unless I forget, then I won't. And I'm sure I'll be corrected. And thank you for that. And then for group number 2, we are going to be using the Sunstone Runic Oracle. I use, well, actually all 3 of these oracles I use a lot, but this one is rune based and I really love it. And we have this lapis lazuli bird on top, and all I hear in my head right now is Free Bird playing in my head, and I really think I'm gonna be naming this crystal Free Larry, so Free Larry is on top. And then finally, for group number 3, we are going to be using the Moonology Oracle, a classic. Well, I guess these 2 are classics, and this one, the Runic Oracle, should be a classic, with this clear quartz moon carving on top. So go ahead and pause the video if you need to decide which pile you feel most drawn to. It is absolutely okay to be drawn to more than one. You might have multiple questions. And if the group you pick, the outcomes don't really make any sense for what you're asking, then I would definitely pick a different group. That would be a sign that you are in the wrong one if the answers don't really make sense. But with that being said, intro squad, sound off. I'm going to cover this up. We are going to be making a wish on the Lovers candle today, mainly because one of the things that the Lovers is about choices and decisions. And I really hope that everyone here can set the intention to make decisions from a place of love rather than a place of fear. But intro squad, I want to ask you, I'm trying to think. I had a couple of different ideas and now I'm like, shoot, I can't decide on which one. Okay, what is one of your history one question option. What is an era or thing in history that you are obsessed with or hyperfixate on or are just extremely fascinated in? And / or what is a history hot take that you have that you would like to sound off? Or what is an interest or a hyperfixation or just obsession that you have that doesn't have to be related to history? I'm just a history nerd, so I like hearing history related ones. If you're not interested in history, what is something that you love? Info dump. I want to hear. I want to know what you love and are obsessed with. Maybe you will create a new obsession for me or someone else in the reading. I hope that this candle's actually been in here. But for me, my history hot take is that the ancient Greeks are a million times more interesting than ancient Romans. And my Roman Empire is that ancient Greece doesn't get nearly enough credit and doesn't get enough attention because I think it is more interested than ancient Rome. And I think that ancient Rome gets way too much airtime and attention. And I just think the ancient Greeks deserve better because I just think they're more interesting. And that is my history hot take. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and make a wish on this candle and get your mini reading. So these are the mini candles. If you are interested, all of the links will be down below. Ooh, I love to see it. What a beautiful, beautiful mini reading to start with. But we are just going to go ahead and make a wish on this candle. So if you want to pause the video and just set the energy of your wish into this candle, feel free to. I'm going to take a second to do the same. May yours, mine, and all of our wishes come true. And I can confidently say that they will because we have the Six of Wands here, which is literally all about victory, success, recognition, attention. So take this as like, if you are worried about the decision that you need to make or are uncertain of what decision you should end up going with, this is a beautiful sign that you can't mess it up. And actually, I think too, like there's kind of this message here about even if you make what you would perceive as the wrong decision, you will still thrive in it and you will still have an outcome that makes you successful in whatever your definition of success is. I feel like success in general is coming to you, but I'm also getting this message that there could be people that you see in the public eye that see you as successful. I mean, maybe you're already in the public eye, but they're more public than you. Maybe they have a higher position in a company that you're in, or maybe there's just somebody that has followed your footsteps already in some way that I feel like might be eyeing you, or maybe they haven't followed in your footsteps, but at the very least they're eyeing you and finding inspiration in you and might even like reach out to you in terms of like maybe wanting to collab or maybe wanting to seek your services or just be interested in you in some way or another. I feel like in general though, if you have been worried about a certain situation, I feel like this is a sign that things are going to work out in your favor. I feel like you're being encouraged to act in alignment with your own integrity and with your values, and to ensure that as long as you are acting with purity and you are making decisions for your highest good and the highest good of others, you really cannot go wrong here and you won't regret doing that. I feel like this is a call for you to be courageous, to believe in yourself, and to recognize that you are most successful when you are authentic to yourself. If you believe that you have to abandon a part of yourself, neglect yourself entirely, or sacrifice something that is deeply meaningful to you in order to have success, I feel like Spirit is really asking you to take a step back and recognize how that really wouldn't be successful because you're severing a part of yourself. You can be whole and successful. And I think you're actually being called to look at what your idea of success is. If you, and see how you're already successful, and how maybe if you are the type of person to push the bar of success higher and higher, maybe ask yourself how you can make that healthier than maybe the current definition you have of it. Because I think a lot about success is in the process, not necessarily in the product or outcome. And I also think there is a message here about recognizing that with success does come attention, and that attention may be wanted or unwanted. But it's important to remember when it comes to that, maintaining a strong connection to yourself will help you stay centered and not be swayed by public opinion or by the opinions of others in general. It's very easy for people to project onto you or onto what they think you are, and those are their personal reasons, but it might be something where you shy away from your own recognition or just shining in the light that you deserve to, because you don't want to be seen by the wrong people, or you don't want to upset other people. And there's really kind of this message here of like, that should be none of your concern. And I mean, it's okay to be concerned about it, but like, it's not worth like being weighed down over, being like worried and concerned over, because ultimately it has nothing to do with you. And the more you know yourself, the less people can tell you who you are. And if anything, it makes those situations just more comical, because it's like, wow, they're basically telling you how they feel about themselves and projecting it onto you. So just know that you really don't have anything to worry about. Believe in yourself and expect the best. Well, maybe don't even think about what you're expecting. Just think about being your best self and recognize that the only person you're competing with is yourself. And trust in your ability to succeed, because you will. And make sure you're surrounding yourself with people that are happy to see you succeed and that support your wins, because that is very important. If you don't have people around like that, there's no need for like, if you're in a situation where it's like, who needs enemies with friends like that? Yeah, those might be people you want to set boundaries with, because you deserve to have people that celebrate your wins. They make the successes and wins in life just all the sweeter. And yeah, it's beautiful, and we all deserve to experience that. So that is what I have in terms of your mini reading. Thank you guys for sticking around. Intro Squad, I want to see you. I want to hear from you. If none of those questions were something that you vibed with, if you just want to tell me what a success of yours has been recently, or what your definition of success is, I would love to hear that. So definitely love to hear it. Thank you guys all that share. Once you picked your pile or piles, you can go ahead and find your reading. Thank you guys so much for being here. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in your reading. Hi there, pile one. Welcome to your reading, and thank you so much for being here. If you guys chose the Wisdom of the Oracle, and I Googled this like 50 times, and I kept forgetting every single time. But I do believe that this is Ammonite, not Ammonite. Ammonite seems to be more rare and different. So yeah, I'm going to say this is Ammonite, but full breakdown of the reading in the intro if you would like it. But we are going to start by answering the question, should you stay where you are or go somewhere else? Now, like I said, that is up to you, but we're going to be looking at what will happen on the left side of the screen, what will happen if you stay in the situation you are in, no matter whatever it is, or versus on the right side of the screen, what will happen if you go to something different. So starting with what will happen if you stay, we have time for a nap. We have the Four of Wands. We have the Six of Stones. And we have the Fiddle Leaf Fig. Let me make sure that's, yep, okay. And then for if you choose to go to something different, we have Flexible. We have the Zero of Fricks, which I'm just going to cover up for a second. We have the Three of Pentacles. We have the Four of Pentacles. And we have the Six of Cups. I'm actually going to have to rearrange this a little bit. But I do want to say, for all of you here, it definitely seems like your situation is not something that is super dire. And what I mean by that is, this is going to be unsatisfying. You're just going to have to deal with me playing with this while I figure out what I find acceptable. Yeah, the situation doesn't seem to be dire. But it definitely seems like the current situation you are in, whatever it is, there is a lot of harmony here. And it seems like you are comfortable. But one thing that I'm feeling is that there are aspects of this situation, whatever it is, that I'm hearing the words like erodes your ambition, or there seem to just be certain aspects of the situation you're in where there are factors outside of your control. This fiddle leaf fig is kind of telling me, excuse me, burping a little bit, that as much as there are circumstances you may want to change, you know that you cannot change them. Like, they're either outside of your control or certain things just are the way that they are, and there's not really a whole lot that you can do. I definitely feel like there are comforting aspects of this situation, though. I mean, the fact that we have the Four of Wands here, I think that there is some element of like, this feels like home. So maybe this is like your hometown, or you're living at home, or you are in a situation where you're at, it does feel like home to you. And I also feel this like, this feeling of like, I don't want to seem ungrateful, or I don't want to seem like I'm completely unsatisfied here, but there are elements here where you do seem a bit unsatisfied. With the Six of Pentacles being here, this makes me wonder how much of this environment is requiring you to give, and how much of this environment is allowing you to receive. Because there are certain examples that I can see where, like, in this environment, you know, maybe you have to adhere to certain conditions, and in return you get more support than maybe you would if you were to stray elsewhere. But at the same time, it's like you have to adhere to certain conditions that are maybe undesirable, or that maybe suck your energy a little bit. Like, it's almost like the conditions are so predictable and you know what's going to be happening, that you don't really feel any passion or any motivation, or there may be this feeling of like, yes, I'm comfortable, but at the same time, I don't feel like I'm moving forward. The fact that we have time for a nap here, it is also just possible too that maybe instead of just being comfortable, there are aspects of this situation that are kind of exhausting, but it seems like you have the ability to rest when you need it. But at the same time, it kind of seems like whatever rest you're needing in these circumstances are something that, I don't know if they're undesirable to you, but it definitely, it doesn't seem like full apathy, but it does seem like things are just kind of comfortable, safe, maybe even a little bit boring. It's like there's not a whole lot going on. This energy kind of reminds me of like The Sims 4, because The Sims 4 is so like easy and safe that it gets like super boring really fast, because a lot of it is just like, I don't know, you're just kind of protected from yourself. And I don't know, if you've ever played that game versus earlier versions of it, you'd kind of understand. It's just kind of like, okay, it's a bit of a snooze fest. And I think even whatever the situation is, you would feel bad about saying that you feel that way, because I feel this sense from you where it's like, I feel like you're very grateful for whatever this is. Like, one example that I'm getting is like, maybe you're living at home, and because you live at home, you know, there are certain things you have to adhere to. Like, you know, maybe the other people that live at home, their schedules. Or, you know, you can't live the way you want to live. Like, for example, I could never live at my parents' house, even though I love visiting my parents, because I'm a night owl and they go to bed at like 8 p.m. Okay, that's a little bit dramatic, maybe 9. And like, you know, my mom's a light sleeper. She wakes up if a mouse farts. Like, I literally would not be able to move or do anything without waking her up. And I don't want to wake her up, you know? She works hard. She's a queen. She deserves her beauty sleep. And so, you know, it's an example where like at times I might romanticize the idea of like, oh yeah, it'd be nice to like not have to pay for my own expenses and things like that. Well, to a degree, obviously, to not have to like, you know, pay for certain things and to be around my family all the time. But then at the same time, like, there are limitations and restrictions that, you know, would be kind of debilitating for me as, you know, an adult out on their own that wants to do things on their own. So I can definitely see here where staying is kind of one of those things where you're like kind of weighing what's truly satisfying for you. I might circle back to this because I feel like I'm not done with it, but let's talk about what would happen if you went elsewhere, if you go or choose something differently. So with the Six of Cups being here, one thing that I'm actually feeling is that choosing to go, there will be elements of what you're leaving, what you're walking away from that you will miss, and I think you will be nostalgic for. But at the same time, I feel like there are also elements where you are connecting to parts of yourself that you were disconnected with in this situation, or even connecting to people that you either couldn't have met when you're in this situation or wouldn't have even known existed if you hadn't moved to this different choice, if you hadn't chosen something differently. However, it does seem like with this choice, there is a bit more, there's a balance of restriction and freedom, where this flexibility card here, it seems like there's more collaboration required in this new choice, in this other, I'm trying to find like the right descriptor terms, and like I'm trying to find the right nouns and adjectives, and I'm kind of struggling to, but essentially it definitely seems like whatever you would choose to go towards, it would be something where you might get more personal autonomy, but that personal autonomy would come at the expense of needing to work with other people's personal autonomy. Like this situation feels more like being around peers more, and being around people that have really strong convictions, likely like you. And there might be a need for you to stand up for yourself in ways that you don't have to here. Like, if you choose this situation where you go elsewhere, it definitely seems like you not only have to be more collaborative, but you also have to be more cautious either about your resources or about the time and energy that you're willing to give. The fact that we have flexibility here, it does seem like there's more challenge managing your material resources, but at the same time, it seems like you have more freedom in deciding and discerning how you want to use them, how you want to use your time, what you want your schedule to be. The fact that we have the 0 of Fricks here, this tells me that where you're going, I feel like you'd actually be a lot more unapologetic about who you are and what your needs are. But you might find it challenging to be collaborative with certain individuals because they are less yielding or less collaborative, in the sense that you're trying to work with people and they're not working with you. Like you're coming up with suggestions and people are like, it's my way or the highway. And so you're having to learn how to balance these things. You know, I think about this flexibility card, and this woman is doing a balancing act on what looks like an egg. So it seems like the circumstances here are more fragile than they are in the environment that you would choose to stay in. You know, if you choose to stay, I feel like things are more secure and more steady. And there's less collaboration. There's more the things that you can do and the things that you can't. And maybe not because you literally can't, but because you know that if you do, maybe it'll cause conflict, or maybe it will go against an agreement or be disrespectful to people in that environment or something like that. I feel like you have more assistance from the outside in the environment where you stay. I feel like there is more generosity and more willingness to be supportive of you. I also feel like there's just in general more harmony, where you might find like even the example of like staying with your family is the example I keep coming back to, where like, you know, of course you might have arguments with your family and things like that, but you might know what are the things that cause that, or what's going to happen here, or how to avoid them. Whereas it seems like in the choice of going somewhere else, it's like new environment, new circumstances, new people, new possibilities. And you might learn that things are more fragile or more precarious than you anticipated. And I do feel like there is this element of you needing to kind of stand up a little bit more, like stand up for yourself more. And also you may recognize too, like there could be areas where you had things done for you in this area where you were staying, if you choose to stay, that are not done for you. Just things that you didn't have to worry about if you choose to stay, that you will start having to worry about if you choose to go. And that might be something where you have to be a bit more strategic, like I said, with your time, with your energy, with your resources. I definitely think like with the 6 of Cups here though, there are aspects of it that are healing. Actually, I think there are healing aspects to both options. I think that if you choose to go, there's more grit involved. There's more personal accountability required, and there's more opportunities for growth than there are if you choose to stay. I feel like if you choose to stay, there are less opportunities for growth and there's more certainty. There's more knowingness of what factors are surrounding you and what what standards you're going to be held to. But then again, at the same time, you're getting more support. It seems like you're getting more resources, but that at the same time, you know, the factors that you do have to adhere to could be more draining. Whereas if you do choose to go, it seems like there's more under your control. There's more that you just have to be aware of. There's more you have to be on top of, and there's more working with your environment and more responsibility required. But I think that this is also an opportunity for you to put yourself to the test and realize that you might feel freer. So honestly, just giving you my 2 cents, I feel like there are pros and cons to both. I feel like wherever your heart is calling you, I think is more important. But definitely, I don't think you can go wrong with either. I think it's more about where your priorities lie. Like, you know, what is important to you? Are you yearning freedom and maybe okay with more responsibility, or are you yearning for security and needing more certainty? Because I do feel like for some of you, there could be this grass is greener on the other side kind of thing happening where, you know, maybe in the position where you're staying, like, you are grateful for where you are grateful for the circumstances you have, but you're starting to wonder if you're taking that for granted or wondering if there's more. And I think that there is more out there. Yes, but maybe it's not more of what you want. You know, it's more responsibility, more freedom, more opportunities that maybe you wouldn't have if you stayed. But maybe those aren't as valuable as what you have at home. I mean, or what you have where in the situation that you're still in, that you're considering leaving, where you're currently staying. I mean, I do feel like this situation feels like home for you. I mean, like, I literally just had a Freudian slip there. But I feel like both, it's about knowing who you are and about knowing what you need. And I don't think you can really go wrong here. I think that even if you chose to go in a different direction, you may have less support than you would like, but I still feel like even the space that you're leaving from, I don't feel like there would be hard feelings there or a lack of understanding. I think if anything, you would probably miss the most if you choose to go, like the supportive environment and the certainty that it brought. Like, there might even be things where in this environment, like, you find them really annoying. Like, maybe you can hear a family member snoring at night and that's really frustrating to you, and then you move to this new place where you're living alone and you're going to bed, and then all of a sudden it feels kind of weird not to hear them, and you almost miss it a little bit, even though you're like, am I crazy? I used to hate that. Like, I think there's a sentimentality component where you might yearn for it a little bit, even though if you do choose to go, you know that you did that for the reasons for you. But I do feel called to also mention that it seems like if you choose to go in a different direction, unless this is like a job or maybe like a romantic relationship or like choosing to go could be something that is more final, it seems like for some of you, you do have the option to return should this not work out. So I feel like that is a message that you need to take with your own situation in mind. I would love to hear what this is, because I feel like for a lot of you, this has to do with like moving. But I feel like for all of you, you know deep down what's best for you. And I don't really think you can go wrong here. And I feel like also you have to, one thing that I would, if choosing to go doesn't seem very desirable to you or doesn't seem as enticing for you, I would ask yourself what's making you feel like there's something wrong with you staying where you're at. I would ask yourself if you're feeling pressured by what you see on social media or societal narratives about what someone your age should be doing, or what is seen as acceptable, if that is something that's swaying your decision and making you feel like you need to do something different. And if that's the case, I would ask yourself why you're putting yourself to that, especially if you're pretty content with where you are, or you're overall like satisfied with where you are and the idea of leaving is actually more daunting and overwhelming. Like, if you're in a position where you feel good, things are harmonious, and you're happy, and you're getting the support that you need, and yeah, you may not be able to control every factor, but at the very least, like the factors you can't control, like they bring value to your life. I don't think that other people's judgment or the fear of other people's judgment for how you're choosing to live your life should be a factor in you moving to a situation that would be more uncomfortable for you and less supportive for you. I feel like that might be really hard and might be something that you end up maybe not regretting, but like feeling like you're almost a failure, when in reality it's like maybe you were just in the right soil, and then you tried, and then everybody was like, no, this is the right soil to be in, and then you put yourself in that soil, and then you start wilting because that other soil was actually a lot more beneficial for you. I guess this is really about deciding like what kind of soil you need, but ultimately there's gifts in both. I think a lot of the gifts of choosing to go come with testing yourself more and seeing and experiencing challenges that force you to, you know, be more strategic, be more conscientious of how you use your resources, be more conscientious of others, and have to work with others. But at the same time, it's like you have a lot more freedom, and it seems like there's more opportunities, and you get to connect with parts of yourself that maybe you like, aspects of life that maybe you were always afraid of facing, that you then realize like you were always capable of handling. Whereas if you choose to stay, I feel like things are more relaxing. You have more support. I feel like there's more resources around you, and things are more harmonious than they would be if you left. But at the same time, there are things that you can't control here that you have to be willing to accept. And it might be harder to experience certain personal growth opportunities that you would have if you go. But then at the same time, it's like, maybe you don't need to be growing right now. If it's best for you to just appreciate and be in the present and appreciate the harmonious life you've cultivated for yourself, I think that's okay too. So definitely would love to hear what you guys are leaning towards and how that resonates. But what I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to give you the opportunity to ask up to 3 questions. So I'm going to kind of show you sort of examples of answers. They don't have to be yes or no questions, but there are yes or no answers here. And essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to shuffle 3 cards, and I'm going to keep them face down. And what I want you to do is you can think of up to 3 questions, and you might want to wait until I shuffle them. Maybe you'll feel instinctively like, oh, okay, my first question should be the center one, my second question should be the one on the right, and my third question should be the one on the left. Or maybe you have 1 or 2 questions and you feel drawn to 1 or 2 answers, 1 or 2 cards. You can assign them before I flip them over. Or if you want to write them down now and assign after I shuffle, go right ahead. I would love to hear how that ends up working out for you. I hope that explanation makes sense, but I'm going to go ahead now and ask, what is the answer? What is the first answer coming through that will be laid out on the left? Okay, so this is going to be the left side answer. I'm going to avoid using numbers because I feel like that'll get confusing. So the left card answer. Okay, what will be the answer for the center card? What will be the center card's answer, please? Okay, and what will be the answer to the right card? What will be the answer to the right card? Okay, so we have our 3 cards out now. If you need to pause the video and assign them, feel free. But I'm going to start by flipping over the answer to the left card. So the left card's answer, the answer to your question that you assigned to the left card, is a sign of success. So whatever you asked, the answer is a sign of success. I would love to know if that makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, if there's an interpretation that you can come up with that makes sense for you, I would take that. And if it just doesn't make any sense at all, maybe that question is not meant to be answered right now. And then as for the answer to the second card, the answer to the center card, the center card's answer, whatever question you assign to it, is your magic is potent. So I feel like whatever question you asked about the center card, it is all about your ability to believe in yourself and your ability to make it happen. I also feel that there is an answer here about your charisma. your charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. I think that you're much more capable than you realize, and I feel like a lot of what the answer to this question is revolves around the fact that you're capable of making it happen, and whatever you believe you will achieve. And so I really feel like if a lot of your question is rooted in doubt or fear, I feel like you're really being encouraged to see that for what it is and recognize that your own personal willpower is a stronger magic than both of those things. And then the answer to the right card, whatever question you assign to the card on the right hand side of the screen, that answer is a block exists. So whatever question you asked, it seems like there is a blockage here. And I'm just going to pull a card and see, like, is there any way to remove this block? What does each group need to know? Or what does this group need to know about this question? Is there any way to remove this block? Take it to the altar. So I feel like if there is a block here, you're being called to trust your own intuition on what that is. And I feel like if there is no resolving this blockage, if you know consciously there is no way right now to resolve this blockage, then it might require just patience on your end, and it might require you to just trust that maybe this blockage exists for a reason. I'm thinking of this card in another deck that I have. It's called Impasse, and there's a story on it that essentially talks about two hikers being on a hike, and all of a sudden this giant comes and stands in their path and will not let them cross. And at first they're really frustrated and they're trying to get the giant to move out of the way, and he won't budge. And so they have no choice but to take a different path. And as a result, they learn later that the giant was actually protecting them from an avalanche. So if there is a blockage that seems immovable, it's likely because you're being protected from something that you cannot see. But if this blockage is able to be released, I think you either know already what needs to be done in order to release it, or that answer will be brought to you in the right time, in the right way. You won't miss it. But you also may need to ask, and you may need to be open to doing things in a different way. Like, you may know consciously how to remove this blockage, but you may not know consciously what the best way to do that is. So you might need to, like, even question yourself and be like, is there another way to remove this blockage? Like, even though I know what I should be doing, could I do it differently? Could I be more gentle with myself? Or could I release ideas of timing around how this blockage needs to be released? I think there's a lot here about trusting your own development and trusting your ability to succeed, and like just trusting that you don't need to have it all figured out in a day. You're doing great. And I feel like too, there's a message here as well as about not feeling guilty for things coming to you easily or happening for you easily. It's okay to want things to be harder or want more of a challenge in life. That's absolutely okay. But also, I feel like there are times where maybe you almost feel like you should punish yourself because things come to you very serendipitously or very easily at times. And I feel like that's not a bad thing. I feel like, yeah, that might be something that other people are jealous of, but it's not something you need to be ashamed of. If anything, it's like, take the W. Don't feel bad for that. That's a wonderful thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish this video off with a postcard from your guides, from the universe, from your angels, or just any unconditionally loving source. If you have one in mind, it can be from that. Even if you don't believe in that sort of thing, that's fine, because there's loving energy around you anyway. So Spirit, what message do you want to leave pile number 1 with? What do they need to know at this time for their highest good, please? Okay, yeah, this pretty card. And ooh, and it says celebrate life. So I definitely think whichever, like, I do feel like there's a small message here about celebrating the beautiful things already here and recognizing that, like, you deserve to feel good in your life, and that life doesn't, because like there seems to be this reoccurring message that life doesn't have to, you don't have to like create more struggle in order to feel more valid. And also this postcard seems to be from heaven, so if you had anyone in mind that has passed on, this could be from them. But it says, dearest you, we need you to know that you can change things miraculously for you, and everyone and make things right. It's never too late. Forgiveness is about releasing yourself from the burden of an old story, one in which you were a victim of someone else's actions or your own. You don't need to carry this around. You can set yourself free. Even advocating for good because of this experience requires your forgiveness to be effective. Forgiveness is never about condoning things that were done. It's about letting yourself off the hook for carrying the burden. Resentment and hurt are like viruses that spread to others, and that is the opposite of what you really desire, right? Imagine what your life would be like if without the burdens that you carry when you do not forgive. You can do it. Everyone over here believes in you and adores you. So that's really interesting. There may be a component of self-forgiveness here that's important. But yeah, take that message how it resonates. I would really love to hear how that touched you. But pile one, this is a bit of a more experimental reading. I really hope it made sense for you. I'm guessing it did if you got all the way through it. But thank you guys so much for watching. And thank you so much for letting my ads play in the background. That's one of the simplest and easiest ways to show support and appreciation for my channel. So thank you to everyone who does that. That's what keeps me from having to move home. If you'd like to support me in other ways, you can like this video. Super helpful. Thank you. Comment down below. Let me know how it resonates. If you'd like me to see your comments, I usually see comments when I first upload. After that, it is just a game of chance. But the more often you comment, the more likely I am to see you. Be sure to click that little notification bell to be notified whenever I upload a new reading. You can check out my candles, code ASO10, my social media, my merch, other videos, ones with extendeds. You can share my stuff. Oh, and subscribe. That's helpful as well. But that's all I have for you guys. So thank you so much for watching and for letting me read for you. I really hope this reading resonated and brought you some clarity. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night whenever it is that you're watching this video, and I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. Bye! Hi there, Pile 2. Welcome to your reading, and thank you so much for being here. If you guys chose the Sunstone Runic Oracle and our little Lapis Lazuli Larry, our free bird, this is going to be your rating on should you stay in the situation, circumstance, event, experience that you're asking about, or should you go towards something different. So full breakdown of the reading in the intro. On the left side of the screen is going to be what will happen if you choose to stay, and right side of the screen will be what will happen if you choose to go towards something different. So starting with if you choose to stay, we have Canaz in reverse. We have the Lovers. We have the cheese fries. And we have the King of Pentacles. Just make sure that everything is yes. Perfect. Okay, and then what will happen if you choose to go in a different direction? We have Yggdrasil. We have the Four of Cups. We have the Influencer. And we have the Ten of Cups. Wow, okay. Pile 2. I just want to give you like a big hug. My higher self is sending you a big hug. Sometimes you guys comment and you're like, I always get the piles where you want to give people hugs. Well, first of all, I'm a hugger. But also, like, that's not a bad thing. I just want to hug you real bad. And the reason why I really want to hug you is because I can totally see why there is this decision that you're trying to make is such a challenge, because it definitely seems like there is sacrifice no matter what you choose. So let's talk about if you choose to stay in your current circumstances. So whether this is a situation, a decision you need to make, you know, moving, job, relationships type of thing. Obviously there is some element of relationships here, but I'm not going to center in relationships as much because I'm seeing something much broad. Well, let me just instead of telling you what I'm doing, why don't I just do it? So choosing to stay in your current circumstances, the pros of it that I do see are that there is more stability, especially material stability. You're making a more practical decision, and it seems like there is a lot of approval, acceptance, acknowledgement, love in whatever it is you're currently doing. It definitely seems like even within this, though, there is a part of you that you are suppressing. And the part of you that you are suppressing is the part of you that desires transformation. That's why we have Canaz here in reverse. It seems like there is a deep unsatisfaction well, maybe it's not super deep. Maybe there's a lot of gratitude and gratefulness for where you're at, but also at the same time knowing that it's almost like you're outgrowing where you're at. But to even think that, or maybe to even voice it, other people might think you're crazy because this is what other people might want, and maybe this is even what you wanted, and you have wanted it, and you've experienced it, you've lived it, you've cherished it, and at the same time, it's like my soul is calling me elsewhere. My desire for personal growth, my connection to myself, that is dissipating a bit. And this is so real because, like, you know, you can have everything, or, you know, be living your own dream, and then all of a sudden it's not your dream anymore, or it's not what you want anymore. And I feel like with this cheese fries card, like, I feel like you've been really hard on yourself about this. I feel like there's just really this element of, like, it almost feels crazy to feel like there is any other direction to go in. And that's the kind of crazy wisdom of the soul, right? You know, we can't really control when it calls us to transform. And I feel like there's a lot of discomfort with that, because I feel like not only do you like the version of the person that you are right now, but also you don't know what these transformations might be asking of you, where they might be calling you to, or who you might become in that process. Like, for example, if you are in a relationship with someone that you really love, maybe you connect really well in this current version that you're in, but if you transform, maybe you're worried that you won't be able to connect in the same way, or you'll be called in a direction that makes it harder to connect with them, or puts strain on the relationship. Maybe it's just that where you're being called, there would be less material security, less certainty in yourself, and also just less, like, confidence in who you are. I feel like the time that you've spent where you're at, being this version of yourself, it has been deeply fulfilling. And I feel called to really tell you that there is no part of you that should feel like you haven't been grateful, or that you have been wasteful, or that you are giving something up by acknowledging this call. But I do feel like in order to stay where you are, you have to deny a part of you that's gnawing at you, a deep soul level part of you that's gnawing at you, saying, it's time to grow. It's time to move to the next level. And I think one thing that's really hard about that, one thing that I'm feeling with this Lovers card, is that there's a lot you love about where you're at right now. But at the same time, there's also an acknowledgement that where you might be called to, who you might be called to grow into, how you might be called to change, it may be less well received, less publicly acceptable, or maybe even less popular than what you're used to. And maybe popular is the wrong word. I think it is, I think it's the right word in some circumstances, but in others, I feel like the current version of you may just be easy for a random person to understand. It may be easier for you to connect on a surface level with people more. Not to say that you are surface level, you're certainly not, but it's almost like the version of you that you are now, it fits into boxes more neatly, so that just a random person, you know, that you might be connecting with, they can understand you more easily. There's less fear or misunderstanding that might be around you because you are something that is known. This version of you is something that you've gotten a lot of praise, support, and approval for. And I feel like it is scary to think about what might change should you choose to go through the fires of this transformation and what it's asking of you. So we'll circle back to this when I feel called to, but let's talk about what will happen if you choose to go in the direction that your soul is calling you to. It is so bittersweet because this 10 of Cups is all about dreams coming true. And Yggdrasil is literally about feeling truly connected. You know, Yggdrasil is the world tree. It is a feeling of interconnectedness to all things, including your soul, including your life, including your purpose. But here's the challenging thing. you are going to feel more disconnected. You might feel lonelier. You might feel more abandoned. And on top of this influencer card, now maybe some of you are influencers or something like that, but don't take this as its traditional meaning. What this is really meant to signify is that you're not going to be, let me actually use influencer terms for this. You're not going to have a clear brand. You're not going to be quote unquote marketable in the same way, because to the general public, the random person, they're not going to be able to put you in neat little boxes that they can consciously understand, because it seems like where your soul is calling you, it's calling you to a level of authenticity that is very deep, it's very nuanced, complex, and it's not even fully formed. But what it is doing is, it's number one, it's probably going to make you more niche. Like, there are going to be less people, I think, that generally understand you or connect with you in the same ways. But I feel like, I do have to say, I feel like part of the reason why some people connect with you now is maybe not because they're connecting with who you truly are, they're connecting with who you present, and that version of them that you present puts them at ease. And so I would argue that, you know, maybe that isn't real connection. Maybe that's just feeling safe in the mask that you've chosen to wear, the persona that gets you the most, that is the easiest to exist in the world in. And here, there's deep emotional fulfillment. There's actual dreams coming true, but at the same time, there's less connection to the world around you. And ironically, deeper connection to the world and yourself than you've ever experienced, because it's less connection to socialized reality, the collective consciousness, and more connected to the natural world, the metaphysical world, your soul, your calling, what you feel drawn to. And I think there's also an element of choosing this direction where it isn't as maybe materially secure. But at the same time, there's fulfillment beyond what you can experience in where you're at. And I think part of what this change would ask of you is, or what it will require of you, is less outside perception or less public perception of what you're doing. A lot of what, like, for example, this could be the transition from, you know, like, let's do it in a career context. Like, you could be the leader of a company that you're really happy in. People really look up to you. They admire you. They respect you. You do really well. I'm literally hearing the words golden handcuffs, which, if you've never heard that, it's essentially being stuck in a position where all of your material needs are taken care of, but you're really trapped. Like, you can't do the things that you want. You're unfulfilled. You know, I think many people can relate to that sort of concept. You know, there are things you have to adhere to, and you feel stuck. Then here, there's liberation, there's freeing yourself, but at the same time, there's less outside understanding, and there's more personal growth that isn't witnessed, seen, or praised by the outside world, and maybe in the ways it once was. You know, like, people can see, a lot of times people are not going to see, you know, small, like, see changes that we go through unless there's something physically obvious, right? And I think in your case, one of the things that you'll struggle with if you choose to go in this direction is that the people that connected with you on a surface level, the people that could understand you, you're going to have a really hard time connecting with them. Even if you cared about them, even if you love them, like, even if they're a special part of your life and your world and your story, you're going to be seeing, oh, this was on a foundation of me showing up in a way that made them feel comfortable. And now that I'm changing, this feels less substantial. And I think one thing that you're going to recognize is like, I feel more connected to myself and my path. You feel more alive than ever, but at the same time, you'll probably feel a little bit isolated and a little bit like not everybody is as supportive or along for the ride as maybe you were hoping. And I feel like that's partially because they won't understand why you even made those decisions in the first place. And I think that can make sense, especially when people perceive our lives on the outside, you know, on the periphery. They come up with ideas of what they think our lives are, right? And I think that you are just becoming something so authentic and so unique in choosing to go in this direction that there will that isolation that you feel won't be as hard. And it's not like you'll be isolated from everyone. Like, the people that are able to dive deep with you will continue on this journey with you, and you will be brought into connection with other people that can meet you at that deeper level. But it will be harder to connect in surface level ways that are easier for you now. And like I said, that's not saying that you're a surface level person. It's just saying that it is easier, like it is easier for you to do that right now, because the person that you are right now is a little bit disconnected from where your soul is calling you to. And that person that you are right now is someone that is still wonderful and beautiful and lovely, but it is just more palatable to the general audience. It like makes me think of the difference of like an example that I could use is like the difference between being, you know, a major, like this side feels like a major movie franchise, like Marvel. You know, it's palatable for a large audience. It caters to them. It's still good. It's extremely I mean, I haven't really watched them, so I can't say that I think that they're good. I don't know. But there's like, but it's, I mean, I'm sure those of you that do enjoy it can tell me why it's good, and maybe you could recommend things that I should watch and that things I could check out. I would appreciate the recommendations. But you know, it's marketable to a large audience. Whereas it's like then on this side, it's like you're a very niche indie movie maker for movies rated like that are unrated, so that they're like not appropriate for a lot of younger audiences, not appropriate for a lot of different audiences. And even those that, you know, would, that are maybe old enough or are eligible to see these films, they may not even enjoy them because it's not that their type of movie. It's not, maybe they don't like movies where, you know, there are ambiguous endings, or, you know, there's very niche stories or very gritty stories, and maybe things don't come together all in one piece in a satisfying way. And so the irony is like what becomes deeply satisfying for you isn't as palatable and satisfying for those that wish to connect with you and be in your life, support you. And that might be hard, because that doesn't mean that they're judging you or rejecting you. It just might be that they're not able to understand you in the same ways. Like, they're just not able to meet you with where you're at. And it's also possible too that within this profound change, you may just have less of a capacity to be around other people. You know, you might go into a bit of a hermity phase where you really need to go within and, you know, go through your own process. Like when the soul calls us, there are many times that, we just like, we don't even understand what's happening with ourselves. But to deny the call is to deny our soul, and in turn deny our truth. And so it's like, if you stay in this circumstance, you're denying your truth. And there's a part of you, there's a deep, meaningful part of you that is in a transformation calling you that you're resisting. And as a result, you're staying stuck in a place where there are a lot of wonderful things, where you have had fulfilling experiences and a fulfilling life. But you're beating yourself up and feeling like, honestly, kind of like a fraud, even though you've built all of this for yourself. You've gotten this far on your own. And then moving into this new version of yourself, it's like, wow, you've never felt more connected to yourself. And on top of that, another beautiful thing is that you're feeling connected to the magic of spirit and earth in a way where it's not about humanity. It's about it's about your humanity. It's about your personal journey, your personal growth, your personal relationship to the elements and to the ether, and developing an even deeper connection to it, and how it calls you to create in this world, what it calls you to embody in this world, how it calls you to exist. And I think one of the hard things is it will be very apparent to you that the beauty of what you're creating, there are less eyes that will be able to behold that in the same way and value it the way it's meant to be valued. I feel like there will just be a bit of like, man, like you're like, if someone, this version of you, if someone asked you to summarize who you are, what you're doing, where you're at, what you're about, you're gonna have to give them like a 5,000 page essay, and even then there's really no main message, and the essay could change within a week. And the reality is a lot of people are like, I'm not gonna read that. Anyway, what's on TikTok? You know what I mean? Like, the level of care, attention, and just ability to perceive required to hold space for the magnitude of who you become, there are not as many people that will be able to do that. And that might sting, and that might be hard. But at the same time, you know what's going to lessen that sting? The reality that that gnawing that you feel inside of you right now, that realization that the world around you feels too small, and that you're starting to feel unseen, you won't have that. You will. This 10 of Cups is deep, deep, deep fulfillment. But that deep fulfillment comes at the cost of the safety of being understood, the comfortability of being palatable for others. And it also costs you your own personal connection to self, to authenticity, at least to some degree. It's not like you're losing all your authenticity, because you're still authentic here. It's just that, and I feel like who you became, who you are right now, like that came about very authentically. It's just that we go through changes in life, like life changes, and so do we. And so now you have to sacrifice that feeling of connection to the great unknown, to the hero's journey. By the way, I am doing a reading right now based on Jung's hero's journey. Let me know if you want to see that sooner rather than later. You are on a journey that less people can understand, but one that is made for a powerful soul. And I'm thinking, of the lyrics of Freebird by Leonard Skinner, and where, they're saying, like, I can't stay. Like, and I think here's the hard thing, and I'm going to be inserting my own 2 cents here. You can stay here. You don't have to leave. But I think that when it comes to matters of the spirit and matters of the personal journey, it becomes harder and harder to stay in those circumstances without disconnecting yourself from your spirit. And let's be clear, like, even if you choose to do that and you go through that, that doesn't mean you're truly disconnected. It just means that life becomes almost a little bit more painful and more challenging, because the most authentic and ethereal, true essence of you gets diminished more and more. It makes me think of there's this quote of Jamie Lee Curtis saying that she didn't want to be in a Marvel movie because she was like, I'm worried they're gonna put one of those bubble suits on me and make me act in a warehouse by myself. And like, I just thought that was really funny. And I feel like there's kind of that element of like, there's a disconnection to your creativity, to your craft, to your spirit. And like, the reality is though, is that like, while it may not be for, Jamie Lee Curtis, I'm sure there are other people that really enjoyed it and liked being in the bubble suit in a warehouse, like for them, that was their authenticity. Or maybe they're like, you know what, this is a paycheck for me and I'm grateful for the paycheck. I feel like there's one thing that you do need to know when it comes to this role that you're in. You're not ungrateful for being called to somewhere else. You've gained the wisdom from this time, and you earned being in this position in the first place. And there's nothing to be ashamed about recognizing that maybe there is a better place for you, or maybe walking away from what is known, even though other people might call you crazy or might have zero understanding of why you're doing that. I will be willing to bet, if you choose to go in this direction, and act on what you're called to, the fulfillment you will feel of being in alignment with yourself and connected to the universe, the loneliness you may feel from other people not understanding you, will be supplemented with the deep, fulfilling, nourishing connection of being more deeply connected to yourself, literally making the dreams that you've wanted to happen, that you want to happen here, happen in reality, and realizing that you didn't even need everyone's approval anyway. You didn't need to be understood to make this happen. You didn't need... You'll find that what you feel is too much to sacrifice becomes not even something that you truly miss when you're in the throes of this transformation. I think if anything, it will probably just make you sad, because you'll be recognizing more of how this current version of you that you're in, how maybe you felt a little bit trapped by the fear of being misunderstood. And I feel like that's a super normal thing. But also, I do feel the call to this question about a relationship. If you are in a relationship with someone and it is happy and supportive and nourishing, I cannot reassure you that I cannot say that these changes will cause an end to the relationship. That I don't know. What I do know is that the only thing that I can say is that ways in which your relationship may have been intuitive, or there may have been a set structure, a sense of safety and security, it's going to be a test to the relationship, in the sense that you're growing into a new person. And is this person able to love you even when they don't understand you, and be willing to be patient with that process as it unfolds? I think that it could actually be something that brings you closer together and shows you that you both can grow and change, or one of you can grow and change, and it can bring you closer, or, show you that the relationship is capable of evolving. Or it could create more disconnection. It could create frustration. It could create discord in the relationship. And what happens as a result is between the two of you, and is up to the two of you. And I feel really called to say that I don't think what would happen is like a rejection of who you become, but rather a recognition that who you've become is no longer compatible with what made the relationship work. And if there are changes that can't be made, you guys may have to make some hard decisions. But I feel like even then, that would be something that you would have to cross that bridge and get there, and really do the trial and error to see how this evolution happens. And I do feel really called to say that if you're choosing a relationship over what your soul is calling you to, that's valid. It's valid, but also, is it fair to you? But also, I'm not telling you what to do here. I think that it's completely okay whatever you choose to do. It comes down to, what do you value more? Security, certainty, and what you know, at the expense of your soul's callings, your connection to the divine and to the earthly realm, and how they intermix in that magic, your own personal journey, versus sacrificing that certainty, that being understood, that knowingness, and walking a lonelier road. Okay, boulevard, it's kind of like a boulevard of broken dreams, but at the same time, but it's not broken dreams. It's the boulevard of walking to your dreams, and recognizing that not everything can remain intact as you move there. And what remains intact and what doesn't, that's going to be unique for each of you. And if you let fear dictate and create all these ideas of what will happen if these changes happen, I don't think that's helpful or that's useful, because you don't know. Because I definitely feel like for some of you, this transition and choosing to follow these yearnings of your spirit and follow this transformation, I do think at the very least, if you have a partner that you are worried about, how will this affect our relationship, there will be a learning curve, and there will be times where you feel disconnected, and there will be times where you have to learn how to translate yourselves in different ways. And there will be times where you feel less understood. And I feel like there will be a degree of, there might be aspects where your partner may not be able to understand you in the same ways. But you don't need to be fully understood in order to be loved. And if that's okay, if that is something that it still works and you guys are working and making accommodations and learning how to grow, I think that this relationship could be very beautiful. I mean, think about it. I'm using the Adventure Time tarot deck, and you know, we've got Jake and Lady Rainicorn, and Lady Rainicorn speaks Korean and Jake speaks English. You know, you can be two very different beings and still be very happy. But I would also feel like for the vast majority of you, I don't think that if you are in a healthy, happy partnership, that your partner would want you to deny or suppress who you're becoming and what your truth is in order to preserve the relationship. Because I think if anything, they would rather you be happy and allow things to unfold the way that they're meant to unfold and do their best to meet you with where they can, with what's still authentic for them, and see what happens. And if they don't want you to follow the callings of your spirit, if they don't want you to grow and they don't want you to change, that's a bit of a red flag. That's somebody who's not interested in, that's somebody who's only interested in the current version of you. And that's a little bit scary, right? You deserve someone who's willing to love not just who you are, but who you may become. And I really think that that if you choose to go, you're stepping into a life more deeply fulfilling, more empowering, more expansive, more magical, more creative, more truthful than anything you've ever experienced, at least so far. And while you will lose some of what makes you feel comfortable and feel tethered to life right now, you will have never been more rooted than should you choose to go through this transformation. And I do feel when it comes to transformations of the soul like this, those that heed the call are rewarded greatly. But at the same time, you're not going to be punished if you choose not to. There's punishment in of itself choosing not to follow the call of the spirit. Not because you deserve to be punished, but because you're just suppressing an aspect of self. And I think that is painful. But no matter what you choose, it's okay. And I think what you also have to know is that you're not being judged by the divine on what you choose to do. You're not being judged by your own spirit on what you choose to do. I do feel like when we ignore certain calls, they're very patient and they'll come back around, or they'll keep calling. And when it's time, if we're ready in this lifetime, we'll take it. And I really do feel like you need to know that who you are and who you're becoming, both of those people are just as wonderful, just as lovable. But I think the real difference between staying and going is you're transitioning from a perspective of how I appear to be, how the world responds to me, to I'm listening to myself, I'm creating and living from a place of authenticity and from inner alignment, and letting the world unfurl itself as it does. There's less attachment to external response, and there's focus on internal, how your internal world propels you. And there's a deeper level of fulfillment and maybe less material stability, but at the same time, but there really isn't anything that says you won't have material stability. I think that if you have the skills to be, fiscally responsible and, just be proactive, I don't think that's an issue, but I do think that you may find things so much more valuable than just what you're attached to right now. I think that there has been a lot of happiness with where you're at, and I think it's understandable why it would be very scary to think about moving in a different direction or following a transformation. But know that What makes us happy and what fulfills us can change. I feel like this one's harder because I feel like for some of you, you're like, Aso, it kind of sounds like you're telling us what to do. And I am genuinely, like, I'm not telling you what to do, but I do feel like for a lot of you, you're already kind of resolved in the fact that your soul is calling you somewhere and you know you want to follow it, you're just afraid. And for those of you that do not want to follow this soul's calling, more power to you. That's okay. If you are at peace with that, if you can ignore that and not be like hard on yourself and become miserable, then I think then that's totally fine. You should do what is best for you. But I think what is best for you is something that could evolve over time. And I think that the hard thing is that both are bittersweet. Both choices are bittersweet. And it is really, really hard to make the conscious mind not completely freak out about the unknown. But I will say, if you do choose to go, you are in for an adventure so magnificent and so fulfilling. I don't think you could consciously recognize it from where you're at now. But what I do know is I feel like your heart will break a little bit for the people that are living on the surface that can't understand the wisdom of your chaos, the wisdom of following your soul's calling, because they're not listening to their own. And I think you'll have compassion for the past version of yourself that couldn't listen to your soul's calling because it was too afraid, and recognize that there's really no rights or wrongs. There's just how deeply are you willing to live in your truth, and how committed are you to that, and accepting of what unfolds as a result. I would really love to hear for you guys, like, what this is, and like really just encourage you. So if you want to tell me, like, definitely comment down below. Like, I really want to hear, and I just like want to say, like, this is so real, and like I feel like I could talk for 50 years about this, because like there are like it is so valid whatever you choose. But as somebody who has followed the calls of their soul, and you know, gets terrified of what it asks of me sometimes, and have been ignoring it as well, like I get a lot of this. And I feel like I'm also in a place where I'm like, okay, I'm being asked to cross thresholds and I don't know if I trust it. Maybe not in the same ways as this, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, but how am I going to live a life that I don't feel connected to my spirit in? That's just, for me, that's death. Like, that's just not living, that's existing. But for you, you may be able to have a deeply fulfilling life without that soul connection, without that, you know, without that need to transform. And if that's okay, and if that is good enough for you, more power to you. So we are going to move now into this question and answer section. And so essentially how this is going to work is that you can come up with up to 3 questions. And I'm going to pull 3 cards, and I'm going to call them the left card, the center card, and the right card. And I'm going to shuffle them, and I'm going to keep them face down. And you can do this in any plethora of ways. You can ask only one question and then feel drawn to the card that you feel is the answer. You can have 3 questions and then wait till I shuffle them and then decide, like, okay, I feel like the first question matches with the right card, the second question matches with the left card, and the third question I feel called to look at the center card for that. If you get an answer, let me just show you some of the answers so you know, like, they don't have to be like yes or no questions entirely. Like, ask the questions you feel called to ask, and if the answer doesn't make sense at all, maybe you're not meant to have an answer yet. And if the answer requires you to shift wording, or you get an answer from that makes sense to you, take that. But I'm just gonna go ahead now and shuffle these cards. If you want to pause this and write down what your questions are first, feel free. But what is the answer to group 2's left card? What is the answer that the left card holds? Okay, so this is going to be the answer. This is the left card answer. What is the center card's answer? Okay, so this is going to be the center answer. And what answer does the right card hold? Okay, so now if you want to pause it and kind of feel into each energy, and it's possible too, you may find that multiple questions are drawn to one card. You can do that as well. Really trust your gut with this. Try not to overthink it, but I understand that in me explaining it, I might make it more complicated. But if you guys are ready, I'm going to go ahead and start. So whatever question you assigned to the left card, I really hope I've been using, left. I can't ever remember my left or my right. The answer to the left card is unveil your truth, which I think is pretty powerful, considering that's kind of a lot of what this is rooted in, you know. I think the answer to this question lies in your truth. And I think you may want the answer to be one thing, but you're truthful. If you were being truthful with yourself, you know it's something else. Or you may then know the truth of the answer, but your conscious mind is like, yeah, but what if it's wrong? Whatever your gut feels strongly about, and trust me, your gut and your mind are two different things. Try to be able to discern within what part of you wants an answer and what part of you feels an answer. It's like the difference between if you're somebody who's able to tell when someone's lying or not. It's like, you know, someone might say the right things and act in the right way, but there's something off. There's something not quite right. The answer to the left card answer is really saying the answer to your question lies in your willingness to connect with your own truth. You know the truth of this answer already. It's either just something so wonderful and beautiful that your conscious mind is like, yeah, but I don't know if that can be true. I'm afraid for it to be true. Or it's something that you know deep down to be true, but maybe you're afraid of what that truth would reveal to you or what it might require you to do as a result. So the center card question. The answer to the center card is stand in your power. So I really feel like Spirit is saying, whatever question you were asking, it's going to require your ability to trust yourself and stay in your truth. I guess that's why it's important to know your truth. But also know that the answer to this question may require you to accept the discomfort that comes with other people disagreeing with you or other people being uncomfortable with your own sense of power. Or maybe if you're asking if something will happen, I guess it requires you to connect with your own power. And the most powerful aspects of you are your heart and your spirit. So that is an answer in of itself. And then the right card, the card on the right side of the screen, the answer to the right card is you're veering off path. So that doesn't have to be a bad thing. If the path that you've been on is one that you're feeling, if it's this stay card, for example, you might be like, maybe I should be veering off path because maybe this isn't the path for me. But if you're asking a question about, should I stay, should I keep doing this, or should I do something, and you don't really feel very passionate about it, or you don't really know if you want to do that, I feel like this answer is saying that it's off your own personal path. That one is up to your own interpretation, but I'd love to hear what questions you asked and how these answers resonate for you if they did. But also, I feel like with this veering off path, I feel like there's a call for you to take ownership in recognizing that it's okay to go off path because your own personal GPS will help you find the right way. Like you can always go back, and it's okay to not always, like, it's all okay, I guess is the point of what I'm saying. And you might have to decide for yourself if the path being referred to is one that maybe it would be more liberating to veer off of it, or maybe veering off of it is something you don't want. I feel like your answer lies in that. So definitely tell me what that is for you. But we're going to go ahead and finish this reading off with a postcard from an unconditionally loving energy that loves you very deeply. So this could be your spirit guides, this could be source energy. This could be a passed on loved one. This could be your angels. And maybe you don't even believe in any of that. And that's fine, because I like to believe that even if you don't believe in them, they are still watching over you and loving you anyway. So at that point, you can just assume it's from something that loves you very deeply and truly. Okay, so to the beings that love pile 2 unconditionally, what message do you have for pile 2 at this time that's aligned with their highest good, please? Okay, so we have you are magic. Oh, I love this. That little message is you are magic. And oh, it says up here from heaven. It says this side for the address only, but I was reading that and it sounds like this is for the adored one. My eyes saw that. So I feel like whatever source this is, you are very adored, and I feel like they want you to know you are magic and that you don't have to have security and certainty. In fact, actually, I wonder if security and certainty could block certain magical outlets of yours, because maybe part of your magic is in the unknown. But know you are magic and you can make anything happen. Dearest you, pump up the music, bang the drums. So fitting, I was listening to Freebird before this reading. I felt like it was only right. Get on up and start that hustle towards your goals and dreams. There are times to be still, but this is not one of them. Now is the time to make that first move. Say yes to life, pick up the phone, make that decision, and take that one step forward towards the gods or us. Expect a cascade of changes, good news, and opportunities to show up as if by magic. Well, we know it's really spirit and all of us moving things around for your benefit. Well, co-creation. I'm adding that. I'm interjecting that. The point is that we are saying go for it. Take positive action towards your dreams, even if the outcome isn't an exact fit for your agenda. It will all be orchestrated by spirit and arrive in divine appropriate timing. Don't you just love how it all still works? We love you so, so much. So I love how I'm sitting here being like, I'm really not trying to be unbiased. And then like your postcard is like, we know what we would choose. And we're going to heavily encourage you in that direction. And I think that's beautiful. So pile 2, please tell me what's up. I really want to know what's going on here. And like, I'm really rooting for all of you. And, I feel like this is a sign too that like the biggest con to moving forward is just that like, maybe part of the reason you feel lonely is because other people can't relate to all the blessings coming to you and may not understand how that can exist. But I think that this is a beautiful sign that the universe has got you, your guides have got you, and I hope that I've helped you. So thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much for letting my ads play in the background, because that is the simplest and easiest way to support me and show appreciation for my channel and help me, you know, live in capitalism. So thank you. If you'd like to support me in other ways, you can like this video, you can comment down below, let me know how it resonates. You can subscribe if you haven't already and click that little notification bell to be notified whenever I upload a new reading. You can check out my merch, you can check out my social media, you can check out my candles. Be sure to use code ASO10 for 10% off. You can check out my other videos. You can like, of course, comment, subscribe. If you want me to see your comments, I usually see comments when I first upload. After that, it is up to fate. And honestly, if you comment more often, more likely I will see your comments. But thank you guys for commenting nonetheless. Just because I may not see it doesn't mean that someone else doesn't need to see it. Thank you for sharing yourself so openly and making the comment section such a wonderful place to be. I really hope this reading goes with you well. I really believe in you guys, and I love you guys no matter what you choose. No matter what you choose, you are worthy, and you are still worthy of love. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night whenever it is that you're watching this video, and I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. Bye! Hi there, Pile 3. Welcome to your reading, and thank you so much for being here. If you guys chose the Clear Quartz Moon and the Moonology Oracle, this is going to be a reading on should you stay where you are or should you go in a different direction. Whatever your situation may be, apply it to how it resonates. Full breakdown of the reading in the intro, but the left side of the screen is going to be what will happen if you choose to stay, and the right side of the screen will be what will happen if you choose to go, and we'll go from there. So starting with what happens if you choose to stay, we have it's time to release negativity, full moon in Scorpio. We have the moon itself. We have the Queen of Cups, and we have the taco. And then if you choose to go in a different direction, whatever that may be, even if you don't know what it is, we actually got 2 cards for this. We have a new start is coming. It's pretty, yeah. And show the world the real you. We also have the Page of Pentacles. We have the Page of Wands. And we have the Audacity. Make sure everything is in the frame. Yes, it is. Beautiful. Okay. So, I'm probably going to fix this a little bit just so it's more even. I said I was going to try not to give you my 2 cents, but I probably will end up doing that because I'm allergic to not giving my opinion. But I'm going to start by being as unbiased as possible. If you choose to stay in the current situation that you are asking about, there needs to be better self-care, number 1, and more discernment, number 2, and better boundaries with your environment. The fact that we have it's time to release negativity and the Queen of Cups here, as well as the Moon, it really tells me that there is a lot of energetically intense things going on in the situation that you're currently in. And it seems like a lot of what makes this heavier is not your fault. It's more so just the reality of the environment you're in. You know, the Moon, like, for example, if this is a career, I would not be shocked if you're in a career, like, basically a service career, like psychology or counseling, helping people emotionally, or you could be in an, like, you could be a doctor or something where you are helping people with their problems. And this could be so many different things. But it also, like, if it is a career thing, it could have nothing to do with that, but you could just be in a very negative work environment. Like, for example, if you are a teacher or you work in an office, a lot of times, like, there can be work dynamics in there or negativity that can be very, very draining if you're not careful. And I feel like, and like I said, this doesn't have to be a work thing, but wherever you are at, it does seem like there is a negative environment around you, or one that you're susceptible to, or maybe even it's just one person that creates a lot of negativity. But the reality is that it does seem to wear on you. And if you're going to stay, it's really important that you take better care of your emotional body and do a better job at setting emotional boundaries. The fact that we have the Queen of Cups here, it does seem like you are comfortable in the role that you are required to be in this environment. And I feel like a lot of this comes to you naturally. Like, you're probably a very compassionate person who's happy to listen to other people, is very nurturing. You know, you probably feel most yourself when you're helping others and, you know, supporting them and making them feel heard and seen. I also feel like, though, you are somebody that's very intuitive, very psychic. I believe that everybody is psychic. I just believe that, like, psychic abilities are like singing voices. We all have one, but how skilled we are at using it is highly varied. And even then, those that are skilled at using it practice and get coaches and everything, right? So I feel like one thing about this environment, though, with the taco being here, I feel like because of the emotional strain that it creates, it causes you to fall apart quite a lot. Now, the thing about the taco is it talks about the fact that just because you fall apart doesn't mean you're still not wonderful. I mean, everybody loves tacos. But I do think that there is a lack of clarity about yourself. I feel like if you choose to stay, there is a conscious choice to do that. But I also feel like these cards are not just talking about what will happen if you stay, but also the reality of here's where you're at and this is what you're experiencing. I definitely think that there are a lot of things that you can't get a clear read on when it comes to yourself and your environment, because there are people that may be intentionally deceptive, or there may just be circumstances like maybe you pick up on energies that aren't yours, or, you know, maybe there are people that deflect or project, or maybe you pick up on something or feel something and you ask someone about it and they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. even though in reality, maybe you're clocking them, but they don't want to talk about it, for example. And it also seems like because it is something that you know, there's not a whole lot of change happening here. There's not a whole lot of exploration into other aspects of self. And I do think that there is the possibility that staying in this environment is keeping you stuck. Maybe stuck is the wrong word, but you're leaning into an aspect of yourself / persona. And I wouldn't say it's a persona in a fake way, but rather it is the person you have to be in this environment. It is the person that you are comfortable being, that while is fulfilling in many ways, hinders your ability to explore other aspects of self. And also, one of the downsides of this is that you can start to create an ego identity around being that type of person all the time. And so when you stray outside of it, you might feel guilty, or you might feel bad. You might deal with compassion fatigue a lot, or you might even feel like you are held to, and not feel like, you may literally be held to a higher standard than other people around you, because you've stepped into this role where, you know, maybe you need someone else to take up a more Queen of Cups role and listen to you for once, and people are a little bit confused, like they're not able to support you because you've always done that. They haven't had to, and they're not equipped to do so, and so you may feel like you're doing something wrong. I feel like one of the downsides of Queen of Cups energy, one of the shadows, is that when you are so emotionally sensitive and you know what it's like to be on the receiving end of other people's emotional reactions, other people's negativities, you almost deny yourself the opportunity to feel negative, to need someone else, to need help, to be vulnerable, to be emotional in ways that aren't sensitive, kind, and sweet. Because if you may feel like if you stray outside of that, you're not doing your job, or you're not really that sweet or kind, or that you're not as good as you think you are. And that's so sad, because like it's just human to have emotions and experiences. And I feel like you may deny a little bit of your humanity and have to disconnect from your own intuition even in order to feel safe in that environment. Because I think that you can just naturally pick up on negativity that may be directed at you, or maybe not directed at you at all, but it's just someone else's. And it might create distress or be draining in ways that maybe you don't even realize. Like an example that I'm getting is like, maybe you have a coworker and maybe they are going through something really intense in their life, or maybe they're just a very negative person, and maybe they don't drain on you, or maybe they don't talk about it with you, but you feel it, and maybe you can't even pinpoint it. So maybe you're just sitting next to them all the time and you're like, I don't know why, but every time I'm around them, like I feel like I'm doing something wrong. Like I feel like crap. Like I just feel really weighed down. I feel really heavy. And maybe you haven't even picked up that it's like when you're around them. But if that influence weren't there, you wouldn't be drained by it. And like the example that I'm getting is like, if you were in a really, really noisy environment, where say for example, you're living next to a construction site and you get used to the sound of, you know, drilling and hammering and giant loud bangs all the time. It might be a little bit annoying. You might register it sometimes, but at some point you get at least enough used to it that you can tolerate it. And then maybe you don't realize over time how draining it is to have that constant noise in the background. And then once the construction is over and it's gone, it's like, oh my gosh, I can like breathe. I didn't realize how much that noise, that constant noise, was weighing on me. And so I do feel like if you choose to stay in the environment that you're in, there is a need for you to be more on top of how you're taking care of yourself and what you are taking on energetically as your responsibility. Like I would say for a lot of you, you probably are the traditional idea of an empath. I have a hard time saying that word, like, even though I fit that, because of the way that it has just been butchered and taken by people that assume that having just a more sensitive stimuli means that you somehow have more virtue. That's not a thing. You can be an empath and an asshole. But yeah, just the way that people have butchered it, it's like kind of cringe, and like I refuse to ever say that. I just say that I have high levels of empathy, and so you could call it that. You do have high levels of empathy, and I think that that extends to you sensing into your environment when you're not even realizing it. So like it is really important for you to take care of your energy, to check in with yourself, and when you are someone that is wired to be tuned into other people all the time without even realizing it, you do have to get better with that. I definitely think though, in choosing to stay, that's not something that's going to be clear and always easy. Knowing what you need to do is often going to come from reaching compassion fatigue, or reaching a breaking point, or having an emotional meltdown where that leads you to recognizing something's wrong. So the path is a bit bumpier, less defined, less clear, and it's easy to take on responsibility or feel shame and guilt for things that are not your fault, because other people that are not owning their own role in things may project that onto you. Or maybe you're taking responsibility for things that people didn't ever ask you to, but that you assigned responsibility for consciously or unconsciously that isn't yours. One way that I can give this example is like me and my channel. You know, I thankfully not very often, the vast majority of you are so lovely and kind, and so thank you for being that. But every now and then I will get someone that gets really mad at me for something that is not my responsibility or something that I cannot control. And it sucks, and it weighs on me, and it makes me feel, well, it used to weigh on me more, and I've gotten better about it, but it still makes me feel bad, because like my goal is to help people. My goal is to support people and help them feel seen and heard. And so when I don't do that, or I make someone angry, or I am not able to help them, I have taken that on as like oh, I'm failing, I'm doing something wrong. But the reality is that the people that are like that are not recognizing that I this is one thing that I kind of say. I can tell you how to go to the bathroom. I can give you directions to the restroom. I can tell you the process of going there, but I can't take a dump for you, and I'm certainly not going to wipe your ass. Like, there are certain things that you are responsible for that other people might, you know, be upset that you're not going to do that for them. Or you might even just feel like, oh, I feel bad that I can't go above and beyond. And that is something within. Like for me, I had to recognize that I was taking responsibility for things that are not my responsibility, things that I can't anticipate, things that I can't control, because it's literally impossible. I cannot anticipate every single person's sensitivities. And like, even though I try my best to be sensitive, there are going to be times where I am not sensitive enough to someone. And that's just something I have to accept. I do my best, but ultimately someone might get mad at me because they might be offended by what I say, or they might just not like what they're hearing and lash out at me. And that's just a reality. And it's only through learning and like dealing with that pain and dealing with like the psychological contaminants and hypervigilance that comes with trying to avoid that experience, that you then start to learn and realize, okay, what is mine and what isn't mine, and to develop strategies and tools to act differently. And it doesn't happen in a day, and it's still a weight. It's still something that you have to work through. And that doesn't mean that it's not painful or frustrating when it happens. It just means you have better tools to cope with it. So in your case, like for example, if you are a therapist, you are literally dealing with people's problems every day. And there might be people that get angry at you or tell you that you're not a good therapist, or make you feel bad for not being able to help them. Or maybe they don't say that, but you feel bad because you haven't been able to help them progress or help them change, and you take responsibility for their journey in that way. Or maybe it's just wearing on you being that support system for people, and you're having a hard time maybe acknowledging that, because you feel like if you even think about changing, or if you even think about doing something differently, that maybe you're a bad person. I had that dilemma when I decided to do this full time instead of, my job working at a mental rehabilitation center for adults with mental health issues. Like, it was really like, am I going to be helping less? But one of the realities was the negativity that I struggled with was not from the clients. It was from the coworkers. The main girl that I worked with was very lovely and I adored her. But there were certain coworkers that I would have to interact with where they were just like draining as hell. And it would be really hard to even work with them because they would just say things about the clients and just be judgmental. And they'd been there for years, so like they were used to doing things their way, and it just felt icky. Like it felt icky, and it was draining, and it sucked. And so you might be in a situation like that where maybe the people you serve, there's no problem there, but like the people that you're forced to be in proximity with, like it almost might be a deal breaker for you. That's okay as well. Ultimately though, I would say if you want to stay where you're at, you will have to find a way to make it healthier for you and to protect your emotions and to be more conscious of what's yours and what isn't. But also, if you cannot stay here and have a healthy sense of self or see yourself in a positive light, that's a problem. Because it does seem like there are parts of yourself you almost have to suppress or deny, or that you feel ashamed of because they just exist. Like, you know, for example, maybe you have a negative thought about someone, or maybe you feel annoyed and you're like, oh my gosh, that's not compassionate. Like, dude, you're a human being. You're allowed to have thoughts. I almost want to say something, well, they'll never see this, but I remember at that job, one of the people that like I was very like, you know, kind of avoidant of when they were around was, I was talking about the fact that I had synesthesia, and like I see, you know, like when I see people, I can see colors and like kind of auras, sometimes just like things. And, you know, they were asking like, oh, like what's my color? And I was honest, I said yellow. And then they're like, oh, what does that mean? And then I was like, oh shit, I can't like tell them what I actually think. Cause like, I mean, yellow can mean many things, but in that case, it really meant like deception, envy, insincerity, negativity. It was like kind of an icky-ish yellow. Not that they were icky, but like, I mean, their behavior kind of was, and the way that they would talk about people certainly was. And yeah, and like they would gossip about people all the time. And it was just like, here I am gossiping. I'm doing the same thing. I'm no better. But then when they asked what it means, I was like, crap, I can't be honest. I don't want to be offensive. So I was just like, oh, you know, like you're just very light and you know, you're happy and chatty. And they literally snorted and they were like, that is nothing like me. And I was like, you're telling me. I was like, maybe I should have been honest. But then at the same time, but you know what? Part of that yellow too, like underneath all of that was a person who had been hurt a lot, who wanted to be seen and wanted to be appreciated and wanted to be valued in ways that they weren't. And I bet there was a little child in there, you know, who wasn't supported and who was criticized and nagged for a lot of their life. And they've carried that weight and they've projected it outward in the world. So, you know, I think there was some truth in that. Maybe they didn't see the positive aspects in themselves as well, but it was probably because they were in a very negative mindset and it showed in their behavior and how they talked about people. And that is a hard thing to deal with. And sometimes you may just have to, like, if you are around people like that, sometimes it is better to just go, like, walk away than to stay in that environment, because sometimes it will just drag you down. But if you have the strength and the purpose and you want to stay where you are, you're just going to have to develop better patterns and better ways of supporting yourself, caring for your emotional body, caring for yourself when you have compassion fatigue, and accepting your humanity, because that is an important part of you. You can't be where you are and deny your own humanity. Okay. So with that being said, let's talk about what happens if you choose to go in a different direction. I can't believe I told that story. I've never told anyone that in my life. And now I just told the internet. So this person like isn't internet savvy and would never watch this anyway, so it's safe, it's fine. But yeah, I think about that sometimes and I'm like, what a time. Okay, so if you choose to go in a new direction, I'm not gonna lie, I really think that this is like, there are no negatives to this. Well, there are, and I'll get to them, but you'll see why I don't really count them as true negatives. So in the guidebook, with this, a new start is coming, one of the first words it says is this card is a yes. So if you're really needing permission to know, like if you want to leave where you are at, but feel bad because you feel like you're giving up a calling or giving up a purpose that you felt deeply aligned with, first of all, like, you're not meant to sacrifice your humanity for a greater purpose. Martyrdom isn't cute. But second, that doesn't make you a bad person. You have served, you have been there, right? maybe you have, not maybe, you do have other purposes or other ways of being in the world that wouldn't force you to deny parts of yourself, and that would give you the opportunity to explore parts of yourself that you have yet to tap into. And here's the really cool thing. I feel like you would find that you would feel younger. Like, you would literally feel younger. It doesn't matter how old you are. Going in a different direction would make you feel lighter and younger. The fact that we have 2 pages here tells me that there'll definitely be some awkwardness in this. You will find yourself having very human moments, making mistakes, saying things that you don't mean to, you know, just life will operate in a way that is less comfortable to you, but it will be so much more exciting. And you will find that you can be more vulnerable. You can be quote unquote messier because you're in a safer place, in a safer position in some sort of way. And you're less hard on yourself because it's almost like you're not being held to a standard where you have to be that person. And maybe you're the one that's decided that you've had to be, you know, that caretaker role or that person for everyone. But I can definitely see that choosing to go in a different direction, there may be people that see your lightness of spirit, or people that might be even offended that you choose to go in a different direction, that want to rain on your parade. But you are going to be in a position where you're feeling, you're so excited about the future and so happy that you don't even take it on as something to feel guilty about, because you'll realize, you know, maybe them being upset with me is their opportunity to recognize that maybe they want to do something differently too. I definitely think there's the opportunity to release a lot of false identities that have drained you energetically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and even physically, and allow you to start fresh in a way where you can explore things in new ways. And you're definitely not going to be mastering anything. You're going to be exploring new things, and it's going to be awkward. It's like I'm seeing like Bambi when, you know, he's learning to walk on his little legs, you know, as he's born. Like, it's awkward and it's messy, but I think that would honestly be good for you, especially if you are a little bit harsh on yourself and like expect perfection of yourself, because that's not what life is about. And I think with this Page of Wands being here, I feel like you might just feel, if you have trouble feeling excited and passionate about life and your direction, I feel like going in a different direction would give you that. There's more opportunity for adventure, exploration. You're feeling your spark again and feeling more energy. And not only that, it's like you're exploring and learning again, rather than being a teacher, a listener, a guide. You are the one exploring, growing, learning, and seeking out resources to help you instead. And I feel like, honestly, you might find that a lot of the negativity that you feel plagued by, it's first of all, going in a different direction might mean that you are not in the same environment anymore, so that so you're just not exposed to that. But also, I feel like a lot of what's made you feel like you can't change or do things differently is maybe you're around a lot of other people who believe that about themselves. And so that's just reinforced that further. I feel like there might be people that are not happy if you choose to go in a different direction, but that's their problem. And, you know, I don't think there's anything more human than like an app can make a small update and everybody is like, this is the worst thing ever. And then people gripe about it. It's not going to change. And so they move on with their life and just accept it or stop using it, you know? Like, it's just kind of one of the realities of life. I definitely think that if you want, because I feel like for some of you, if the calling that you have to where you are is stronger than wanting to change and do something differently, I would say stay where you're at. But get real on what you need to do to protect yourself better. Be more discerning, and be more discerning in a way where you're listening to your intuition, and rather than letting your conscious mind go, oh no, I don't even want to believe that they're thinking that or feeling that or that energy is being generated. No, you be unapologetic. They don't need to know that you're thinking that. You don't need to take that, like, you don't even need to take that on. Like, it is purely for your own protection. It is just you sensing, okay, I need to have a better energetic boundary here. Or, okay, maybe I should gray rock this person because every time I talk to them, I feel weighed down. Here, you're developing new areas of yourself that have always been there, but you just haven't been able to tap into as much. However, where you will be frustrated, or where you will, I don't even know if I would call it frustration, but maybe a little bit, like you might be unnerved, is I feel like you might be more outgoing, more impulsive, and that might like take you by surprise, because number one, you might put your foot in your mouth sometimes and say the wrong thing. Number two, you might find yourself being interested in things that you never looked twice about before. Number three, you might have the energy and desire to go and do things that you would have never considered before because you didn't have the energy or because they scared the hell out of you. And then you realize, oh, this is all a new adventure. And I think also wherever you're moving towards, the environment allows you to be more vulnerable. You know, the fact that we have this Show the World the Real You card and this woman's back is bare. It makes me feel like she doesn't have the threat of being stabbed in the back, of being criticized or harmed in ways that makes her feel like she needs to be more elusive and hide her humanity. And I feel like with this Page of Coins and this Page of Wands, you're going to be developing new ways of thinking, new ways of communicating. And I feel like there are going to be people that, like, say, for example, you know, maybe there are people in your life that, like, let's say you do something that takes a lot of your emotional energy, but you also just have people in your life that are not, maybe, like, not really reciprocal friendships, but, like, you feel obligated to help them, or, like, they know that they can come to you and you'll help them. And you might all of a sudden be like, sorry, I don't have time, or sorry, I'm, like, they might be like, hey, will you listen? Or they might just start, they probably wouldn't even ask if you're willing to listen about what's going on with them. They probably just be like, oh, like, I need to tell you about this. And you might be like, oh, I'm sorry, but I can't listen. And they might be like, seriously? And you might be like, yep, bye. Like, I feel like there might be like a shortness to you where you're just like, oh, I don't have to explain. Oh, I don't need their approval. Oh, I don't have to, I can let people feel with their, I can let, people are safe to sit with their own emotional experiences. I don't have to sit with them. I don't have to feel into that. And I don't have to feel responsible for them having emotions. Because guess what? People have them. And while they may be valid or not, it's not our job to decide that. And it's also not our job to take responsibility for them. Because sometimes our feelings, while valid because we're feeling them, may be irrational. Sometimes we have irrational feelings. And I think that one of the biggest crimes against your humanity is taking responsibility for feelings that are rooted in irrationality, you know, someone else's psyche, and taking responsibility for them and feeling like they're valid in truth. And that is probably creating things where it's like, I literally can't think, breathe, or do things because I'm afraid to set off someone who has, you know, such a sensitive system that, like, if I breathe in the wrong direction, I'm doing something wrong. Like, that's not your fault. And I think what you may realize is that a lot of the weight that you've been carrying has not been yours, but rather just the ways in which you've tried to contain yourself and try to protect the other people around you. And when you realize, oh, when I'm not doing that, life is a lot lighter and, like, I have so much more energy, I feel like you could start a whole new reality. And I feel like, I don't know if you noticed, but I feel like I noticed just switching from if you stay to if you go, like, my energy, like, I feel like I got louder, more excited, and more, like, exclamatory. Like, I feel like I'm just more animated. And I would say, like, staying, if you choose to stay, make it because you are so committed to whatever you're doing or the purpose that you're carrying and willing to find those solutions that you would rather carry more heaviness, knowing that you are where you feel you need to be and serving in the way that is most meaningful to you, versus, I would say, if the new start is something that feels frivolous or feels like I'm not ready to do that yet and I'm okay with carrying this weight, then yeah, stay. But if you are like, I cannot carry this weight anymore, I want to feel light, I want to feel free, I want to have fun, I don't want to take life as seriously as I've been taking it, I don't want to be around people that drag me down, like, I want to be myself and feel free to be myself and just be more human, I think that you should go in a different direction, because not only will you have a new start, but it will, like, life will not be so exhausting. You'll find that it's so much easier to be like you don't have to be in your Queen of Cups energy all the time, because whatever this new start, whatever this change is, it allows you to explore like different parts of yourself and discover who you are through them. And I guarantee you that part of yourself that does resonate with that Queen of Cups energy is going to be relieved to have a break. And I think what you'll realize is that anyone that's mad about you doing what's best for you isn't someone that has your best interest at heart anyway. And if they don't like who you really are, then they can go eat a bag of dicks. Like, point blank. They can be mad about it. That's totally fine. That's their right. But you're not going to take that to heart, because it's not your job and it's not your responsibility. And I think you would really connect to some parts of yourself that you felt disconnected from for quite a while. And so should you stay or should you go? I think it comes down to, what do you need and what is most important to you and where are you at? But I would love to hear where you're at and like what you're thinking, because I do feel like for some of you, you might be like, yes, this new start sounds nice, but my like spirit, my heart is in this thing that I'm doing. And I know that like this new start is available to me should I need it, should I be ready for it. But I think sometimes our heart knows whether we're ready to let go of something or not, whether we're ready to release it or not. And I feel like for some of you, if you're feeling like, yes, this new start sounds nice, but I don't feel like I have finished, if you feel unsatisfied with where you're leaving things, I mean, you're allowed to feel unsatisfied, but if you feel in your heart like there's still more work for you there's still more for you there, by all means stay. And know that when you do choose, if or when you choose to go in a different direction, know that this is here, and know that going in a different direction, like the universe will not punish you. Like you will not be seen as a bad person. The only people that will see you as a bad person will be those that benefited from your way of operating before. But I think that if you are operating this way, there is a responsibility on your end to take better care of your emotional energy and say no. No is a complete sentence, and you deserve your own peace, especially when you're in a job that requires you to serve others. And I just think like no matter what you choose, it's valid. And for those of you that are only hanging on because you feel bad, stop it and go the other, stop it and go. Because I promise you, you're going to be feeling better, and you're going to realize like, oh, it feels really good to just choose me for once. It's like, yes, it does. It's almost like when we listen to ourselves and do what we need, life flows a lot more easily and we feel better because we're not, forcing ourselves to do things that don't resonate for us. So, my heart is warm. My heart is really warm. I feel like some of you needed to hear this. Well, I hope all of you needed to hear it if you're here. And I just want you to know there are so many ways for you to serve in this world, and the best way you can serve is by being true to yourself. And so whatever your truth is, name it and claim it. So with that being said, and just I'm saying, I would love to hear from you guys. I love to hear from you guys so much. You guys are so insightful and smart, and just your stories are so powerful. And I feel like they not only move me, but move the other people here, and just helps us realize even though we may be on opposite ends of the world, we understand we're going through the same things, and there are people out there who understand what we're going through and are going through the same things. Maybe the semantics are different, but you're not alone. None of us are alone. And thank you for being a reason why I'm not alone. I appreciate you. So we are going to go ahead now. I'm going to give you the opportunity to ask 3 random questions, and I'm going to show you kind of what the answers look like, because they don't have to be yes or no questions, but there are yes or no answers. So ask the questions you feel called to. Ask the questions on your heart. You can ask up to 3. And I'm going to title each card the left card, the center card, and the right card. And I'm going to lay them out. And you can wait until I lay them out, or you can decide now, okay, I'm going to shuffle them. And you might need to pause the video to decide what questions you have. Maybe you only have one. And maybe you have one question that feels like one card can answer multiple. Do what works for you and trust yourself. But I'm just going to shuffle them and then I'll explain a little bit more. So Spirit, what is the answer to group number 3's? What is the left card answer for group number 3, please? I'm laughing because it flipped over, but you're not allowed to see it yet. What is the answer for the center card for group number 3? What is the answer to the center card for group number 3? Okay. And what is the answer to the right card for group number 3? Okay, there's 2 cards coming out for this. So if you want to, like, you know, look at your questions and be like, okay, question number 1, read it out loud, and then look at the cards and feel which card it's drawn to, then you can be like, okay, card 1, it's the right cards. Okay, card 2, it's the left card. Maybe you only have 1 question, maybe you only pick 1. Let me know what you end up doing, though. I am always really interested in that. But if you get the answer to a question and the answer doesn't really make sense, but you get an answer from it that may not be exactly what's written on the card, take that as your answer. But if you get an answer that does not make sense at all for the question you asked, take that as a sign that that answer is not meant to be answered yet. So I'm going to go ahead and start. If you need to pause and feel in, please do that. But I'm going to go ahead and start. So the answer to the left card, whatever question you assign to the left card, this is why I laughed. It's put up strong boundaries. And I'm like, yeah. I said what I said, and the card said it again. Yeah. Self-explanatory. So now for the center card, looking at the answer to the center card, whatever question you assign to the center card, we have it's on its way to you. So I feel like that's a yes. Or if you don't have a clear answer, maybe the answer is coming. But whatever it is on its way to you. Curious what that is. Maybe, for example, you don't know what direction to go in or where you want to go, and maybe that answer is on its way. And so finally, I'm going to laugh if there's 2 completely contradictory cards here, but the answers to the right cards, whatever questions you assign to the right, we have beyond a doubt, so that is a yes, and be clear about your wishes. So yeah, I feel like that is a yes, and be clear about what you want, because I feel like it'll happen beyond a doubt. Or I feel like if you were asking about, like, should I ask this, or if you're asking, like, should, like, I feel like this is asking you to go all the way. Like, don't just do half measures. Like, don't do what's safe. I mean, maybe like you can have some security measures in place, but also don't be afraid to, like, shoot for the moon. If you miss, you'll land amongst the stars. I love that silly quote. But yeah, let me know what those answers were. I love to hear from you guys. And yeah, this is always one where I'm really like, I have no clue if this is working or not, or if this is helpful or useful. So I do like to know those things. But we are going to go ahead and finish off with a little message from the unconditionally loving beings and energies that love you. So this could be spirit guides, passed on loved ones, angels, something else of higher power. Maybe you don't even believe in any of that. So just something or someone that loves you, whatever you want. But it's something that loves you unconditionally, and for everyone there are energies and beings that love you unconditionally, whether you believe in them or not, because that's the unconditionally part. It's not conditional on you believing in them. So group number 3, Spirit, what final message do you have for group number 3? What would you like them to know and leave them with? Okay, we have, once again, we have a Celebrate Life card here. I feel like this came out in another group. Like, sometimes there's little messages here. I definitely think, though, that, like, there's a quick message here for all of you that your life does not have to be one of servitude. It should be one of service. So servitude is not the same thing as service. I'm not a dictionary, so I can't give you the extreme definitions. But if it's making life miserable, I don't think that's service. I think that's servitude. But anyway, dear you, There are times in life when taking a risk is better left for another day. Other times are perfect for taking that leap, no matter how dangerous it might seem. Well, hold on to your parachute strings, for today is leap time. Realize that no matter what, we will not let you fall down, get lost, or hurt yourself in any way on this one. Even if it may feel like you were in free fall, we are here for you. And you can stop freaking out about getting hurt and relax into this transition to something new. All of the elements are in place and your soul is ready for a new experience. No matter what you are asking about, it's time to take the risk and do the thing that scares you. No matter what happens, you will land softly, right on target. Don't worry about the outcome. Spirit's got that covered. It's taking the leap itself that's important. We love your courage. Embrace it. That is so funny because like, I've been like, I'm gonna try and not be biased, but I probably will be. And then like Spirit's out here being like, I'm gonna be biased. But I feel like for those of you that feel like you should stay, I feel like this is an encouragement for you to maybe be risky, maybe file an HR complaint, maybe try for a different job in the same, maybe apply for a different area, maybe go out on your own, like do something that like allows you to release negativity if it's not just a personal thing. Like maybe it's just literally you need to get some people out of your space, maybe ask to be relocated, maybe ask to be put on a different schedule, like at the very least something. But I feel like for a lot of you, you're just afraid to take this leap, and Spirit's like, you'll be fine, you're gonna have fun. Yeah, definitely excited for you guys, and believe in you. I hope you believe in yourselves too. So that is where I'm going to leave this reading. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much for letting my ads play in the background, because that is the simplest and easiest way to support me and help me live in our capitalist society, at least if you're where I live. So thank you for that. If you'd like to support me in other ways though, just liking the video is super helpful. I've already asked you a million times to comment. I mean, like that is helpful for me, but like I genuinely want to hear from you, so that too. If you want me to see your comments, I see more often people that comment more frequently, so know that that is the case. And also, I'm more likely to see your comments if you comment when I first upload or just comment more frequently. I might start to recognize you, pay attention. Beyond that, it's up to fate, but I'm trying to do my best to respond and reply to more people and just engage with y'all more and let you know I see you. So thank you to everyone who does that. Obviously, subscribing is helpful. You can check out my candles, you can check out my social media, even though there's not really anything on there, because talking about releasing negativity, I'm like, I don't want to get back on that shit. Yeah, anything else, you can check out other videos, ones with extended, but yeah, that's all I have for you guys. So thank you so much for watching and for letting me read for you. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night whenever it is that you are watching this video, and I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. I love you guys so much. Bye!